Hello guys, this is 12th Harbinger and welcome to my complete Chevreuse guide. In this video, I will cover everything you need to know about Chevreuse, including her kit review, constellations, artifacts, weapons, and team comps. Without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Starting with her elemental skill. Chevreuse will use her musket and deal AoE pyro damage. After using her elemental skill, she heals the active character based on her max HP. She heals up to 6 times. At 31k HP, she heals 2k per tick, that is 12k in total. Her healing is decent and can be enough to keep you alive if you can dodge lethal attacks, but you may want to run another healer like Bennett if you have trouble with dodging. After holding her skill, she will enter into aiming mode and lock onto a target. If Chevreuse has an overcharged ball, she will shoot it instead. Chevreuse gets an overcharged ball whenever a party member triggers overload reaction. She can have a maximum of one ball at a time. The overcharged ball has a higher multiplier and has a greater AoE. But we won't be focusing on her personal damage as a buff from her passive and healing scales of her max HP. The overcharged ball is an extremely important part of her kit as her Ascension 4 passive gives 1% attack for every 1000 HP she has to every Electro and Pyro party members in the team whenever she fires an overcharged ball. She can give up to 40% attack, which means it caps at 40,000 HP, and the buff lasts for 30 seconds, which is quite long. Her burst is just a huge chunk of damage. It has a 589% damage multiplier at level 8, but you will mostly be ignoring her burst unless you build damage on her or have her C4, which we will discuss in the further parts of the video. Her Ascension 2 passive is what makes Chevreuse teams restricted to only Electro and Pyro teammates. If your team consists of only Electro and Pyro characters, triggering overload on enemies decreases their Pyro and Electro resistance by 40% for 6 seconds. This is why Chevreuse is often regarded as Nilu for overload teams. For her talent priority, level her elemental skill. Burst and normal attacks can be ignored. If you plan to use Chevreuse as quick swap DPS where you also use her burst for some damage, you can level her burst. Here's a tip for using Chevreuse and getting max heals from her. Chevreuse whole skill has a cooldown of 15 seconds and the attack buff from her passive lasts for 30 seconds. So you can start your Chevreuse rotation with her whole skill to get the buff, then after 15 seconds, you need not hold it again as the buff is still active. So you can just tap it and get the healing from her skill. The tap version only has a cooldown of 10 seconds, so this means you can cast her whole version again by the time her buff ends. This will provide you with more healing and energy particles. Moving on to her constellations. Her first constellation is quite good as it provides 6 energy to the active character who triggers overload reaction except for Chevreuse. This effect can be triggered every 10 seconds. This constellation is quite helpful for energy hungry teammates like Xiangling. Her second constellation deals 2 instances of extra damage which is equal to 120% of Chevreuse attack when you use the whole version of her skill. Third and fifth constellation increase their skill and burst level respectively. Her fourth constellation basically gives an extra charge of skill to Chevreuse. After using Chevreuse burst, the whole mode of her skill won't go on cooldown when you use it. This effect is removed when you use the skill twice or after 6 seconds of using her burst. So you can fire a whole version of her skill and immediately unleash the tap version for more energy. I'm not sure if the healing also stacks, but we will get to know when she is officially released. As always, the 6th constellation is broken. After the 12 seconds of healing effect from her skill ends, the whole team will recover HP equal to 10% of Chevreuse max HP. Additionally, when a character is healed by her skill, they will receive 20% pyro and electro damage bonus for 8 seconds. This stack up to 3 times, which means a total of 60% damage bonus. With this constellation, she becomes a Bennett and Kazuha with very decent set for the overload teams. The best constellation is obviously the 6th one and it is a huge upgrade, but it is not worth to spend your primo gems for it as you might get some unwanted 5 stars. The first constellation can be nice to have, but it is not worth rolling for. Moving on to her weapons, you will be pleased to know that Chevreuse has some extremely budget friendly weapons. The best 2 weapons for Chevreuse are the Black Tassel and Favonius Lance. As all Chevreuse needs is HP percent, the Black Tassel becomes her best in slot to maximize her healing and buff from Ascension 4 passive. Energy is not needed on her as her burst doesn't provide much for the team, but Favonius Lance can be the best option to use if your team has energy issues. This forces you to build some crit rate on Chevreuse around 30 to 50% in order to activate the passive, but the energy particles is extremely valuable if your team consists of energy hungry characters. The Fountain craftable weapon, Rightful Reward, can also be used on Chevreuse if you fade all your Black Tassel. It provides less HP than the Black Tassel but is viable as it is the only weapon other than the Black Tassel which can provide HP. Staff of Homa also provides HP from its passive, but you are better off using it on your DPS characters. Lastly, if you wish to build her as DPS, you can use weapons on Chevreuse that provide offensive stats like crit rate, crit damage or attack percent. Energy recharge weapons also work in order to have 100% uptime on her burst. Staff of Homa is the best for DPS Chevreuse as it provides a huge amount of crit damage along with some HP. For her artifact sets, the best one to use on her would be the Noblesse Oblige set as it provides 20% attack to the whole team. If you already have a Noblesse user in your team or your team doesn't benefit from attack percent, then you can go with 4-piece Instructor set to increase your team's overload damage. You will get a bit less HP as Instructor is a 4-star set, however the 120 Elemental Mastery makes up for it. You need to make sure you trigger a reaction with Chevreuse in order to activate its set effect. Alternatively, you can use a mixture of 2-piece set effects that give HP percent or healing bonus. I wouldn't recommend using the 4-piece Songs of Days Past, the healing set of version 4.3, as Chevreuse healing is quite slow and won't be able to reach the 15k healing limit required to get the max buff. For artifact stats, you can build full HP on Chevreuse. You don't need to worry about energy recharge as you will mostly be ignoring her burst. So HP percent on Sands, HP percent on Goblet and HP percent on Circlet. You can use crit rate Circlet if you are using Favonius weapon. For artifact stats, try to get HP percent from your Flower and Feather. For the HP percent artifacts, that is the Sands, Goblet or the Circlet, try to look for flat HP or energy recharge. Having some crit rate can be helpful if you have Favonius. Even if your Sands, Goblet and Circlet don't have these substats, they can be used as having these substats are not necessary. For DPS build, you can still use the Noblesse Oblige set as Chevreuse benefits from the burst damage bonus and also the attack percent buff, and it also boosts overall team damage. Alternatively, you can use other offensive sets like Crimson Witch of Flames, Emblem of Severed Fate, 2-piece sets that give attack percent or sets that give HP percent also work to get some healing and buffs from Chevreuse. And for the artifact stats, attack percent on Sands, pyro damage bonus on Goblet and crit on Circlet. You can go with a HP Sands, pyro damage bonus Goblet and crit rate Circlet, or a HP crit build to build her as hybrid DPS. Moving on to her team comps. Her teams are very restricted just like Nilou. To get the most value out of Chevreuse, you should use her in teams consisting of only Electro and Pyro characters. Also, you need characters that can help you trigger overload reactions, as most of the buffs from Chevreuse kit comes from triggering overload reactions. You can use a double Pyro and double Electro team or a triple Pyro and single Electro team. Using triple Electro won't be possible as Chevreuse Pyro application is not enough to trigger overloads consistently. Your team will consist of an Electro or a Pyro DPS, sub DPS from either Electro or Pyro to help you trigger overload, Chevreuse, and the last slot is Flex. Here you can use a buffer or sub DPS which are of course from either Electro or Pyro. Or you can also make a quick swap style team with sub DPS characters like Yaemiko, Fischl, Xiangling, etc. Let's start with the Pyro sub DPS characters that you can use. First we have Xiangling. Broken as always, she has a good off-field Pyro application which makes her an amazing choice with on-field Electro DPS characters. Not to mention her high burst damage, however she is very energy hungry. So you may want to use her with Bennett or run your supports with Favonius. Using Redden Shogun with her can help alleviate her energy problems. Next we have Thoma. Thoma is another amazing option to use due to his decent off-field Pyro application along with a shield. It requires normal attacks to proc, so use him with characters that use normal attacks. Theia also provides decent off-field Pyro application along with some damage mitigation. Moving on to Pyro DPS characters, there are quite a few of them that you can use. In this category we have Diluc, Yoimiya, Klee, Yanfei or C6 Bennett. For Electro sub DPS characters, Fischl is one of the best characters to use for this slot due to her high skill uptime, damage and Electro application. She also provides a lot of energy for the team. Yaemiko, just like Fischl, another great Electro sub DPS, however she needs more field time to lay out her turrets. Cookie Shinobu is a 2-in-1 character. She provides healing along with Electro application. She has 100% uptime on her skill. Also, since her healing skills offer elemental mastery as well, you can build her full EM to increase your overload damage. Widow's burst is extremely strong in AoE situations, but she has high energy cost, so you will need to use her with another Electro sub DPS. Also, since overload teams are mostly used in single target situations, she might not be the best choice to use. Lisa also provides off-field Electro application from her burst. She can reduce enemies' defense by 15% due to her passive. Redden's elemental skill also provides off-field Electro application and burst damage bonus. However, it's better to use her as on-field DPS due to various reasons. She has high on-field damage, provides energy restoration for everyone in the team. You also get to see the Booba sword. Kaching and Saino are other great on-field DPS characters. And lastly, for the buffer slot, Bennett as always is the best one to use here. He provides attack buff, healing and also a pyro battery, especially for a certain energy hungry cook. You may get a lot of attack as Chevreuse also provides attack buff from her passive. However, Bennett has other utilities which makes him an excellent choice. Kujosara at C6 is the best character to use with electro characters that have short field time like Raiden Shogun or Kaching, as her buff only lasts for 6 seconds. Lisa is also included in this role as she reduces enemies' defense by 15%. Here are some example team comps so that you can get an idea of how to build teams around her. Raiden Shogun Xiangling Chevreuse Bennett, Kaching Thoma Chevreuse Kujosara, Diluc Fischl Chevreuse Lisa, Fischl Xiangling Yaemiko Chevreuse. As we all know, Chevreuse is restricted to only Overlord teams, which makes her quite niche, as outside Overlord teams she provides very little for the team. Also, the Overlord teams have a problem of knocking the enemies back, which makes you chase after them. This wastes both your time and stamina, so you should use Chevreuse teams only against enemies that cannot be knocked back. Overlord teams becomes an excellent choice against single target enemies like the bosses, as you won't need crowd control here and they can't be knocked back. The reason why I say Chevreuse has great potential is because there are future characters like Clorinde or Arlecchino that may synergize well with her. Chevreuse might be a step that HOYO-Verse is taking towards making Overlord viable, just like they did with Navia and bring back the crystallized reaction. Also, due to the recent Abyss cycles having many single target boss enemies, Overlord teams can be a great option. Also, it's fun and refreshing to use a different type of team rather than sticking to old boring teams. So don't listen to players calling Chevreuse bad. You can build her if you wish to try a different type of team. On a scale of 1 to 10, rate Chevreuse in the comments. And that's all for this video. I hope it was helpful. Make sure to like and share the video and subscribe for more Genshin Impact content. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching.